Time to divorce? The 5 stages of collapse and how to stop the clock. Most marriages don't end in a bad explosion. They end in a quiet shutdown. The divorce papers are already written. They're just sitting on the desk waiting for the signature. Most couples don't realize the clock started ticking years ago. And if you don't know the 5 stages of collapse, you realize you're at the breach when it's already too late. I'm going to show you where you are and how to stop that clock. No sirens, no dramatic final argument, just a slow fading of connection that one person notices too late. And the scary part is this: the couple usually doesn't realize the clock started ticking years earlier. Bola is 36. Thomas is 42. Thomas managed a $10 million portfolio. Bola was a director at a tech firm. On paper, they were masters of execution. They'd been married for 11 years. On paper, nothing looked broken. No cheating scandals, no secret families, no sudden disappearances. Bills were paid. Kids were doing fine. Life was functional. So when Thomas finally filed for divorce, Bola said the words I've heard over and over again from people who never thought they'd be here. I didn't see this coming. And I believe her. Because most people don't feel the reality of divorce until it actually happens. They feel discomfort. They feel distance. They feel frustration. But they don't feel finality until the papers are real. The truth is, the signs were everywhere. They just didn't know how to read them. And if you're listening to this, whether you are married, dating, separated, or just planning your future, this matters because attraction has a life cycle. And if you don't manage it intentionally, it decays predictably. At the beginning, everything felt easy for Bola and Thomas. They laughed more, they touched more, they listened with curiosity instead of defense. They gave each other the benefit of the doubt. And that's where most couples stop listening. They assume love is self-sustaining. Newsflash, it's not. The first stage of collapse is the blind spot. This is denial, oblivion, complacency. Nothing is wrong, so nothing is improved. Thomas started working long hours, telling himself he was providing. Bola started focusing more on the kids and her career, telling herself she was being responsible. Neither of them felt neglected enough to complain. The key word is enough. They sure were neglecting the relationship. And that's the danger. Attraction doesn't disappear suddenly. It erodes quietly. Small things went unchecked. Tone, respect, curiosity. They stopped asking each other real questions. How are you, really? What's been weighing on you lately? What do you need more of from me right now? Instead, they assumed stability meant safety. It doesn't. Attraction is cyclical. It rises with polarity, presence, and purpose. It falls with predictability, passivity, and unspoken resentment. Unpredictability, this is important, isn't good or bad by itself. It's a double-edged sword. Predictability without presence kills desire. Predictability with leadership builds trust. Most people don't know how to use it. And that's how couples slide into the second stage, the tally. This is where resentment starts brewing quietly in the background. Nothing exposed yet, but pressure is building. I call it the resentment brewery. Well, I started feeling unappreciated, not ignored, just unseen. Thomas felt disrespected, not hated, just diminished. They kept mental scorecards. I always initiate. I always sacrifice. I'm the only one trying. I never get credit. This is where the words always and never start showing up. Those words are usually lies. Not intentional lies, emotional ones. They happen when feelings are running the conversation instead of clarity, especially when people lack emotional intelligence and seduction skills. According to relationship research, often cited by public health authorities, chronic unresolved conflict and emotional dissatisfaction are amongst the strongest predictors of divorce. Not one big fight, but patterns over time. This is where attraction takes a measurable hit. Not because either person is bad, but because attraction doesn't survive unspoken content. Bola felt lonely inside the marriage. Thomas felt like nothing he did was ever enough. Here is the dangerous part. They still smiled in public, still posted family photos, still told friends we're fine. And every time they did that, they postponed the hard conversations that could have saved them. This stage can last years. And most couples never leave it intentionally. They drift into the third stage, the war. This is where everything becomes a fight. Not big fights, frequent fights. Constant, extended, unhealthy. Arguments aren't about the dishes anymore. They're about character. This is where couples start assassinating each other's characters. You never listen. You always twist things. You're impossible. Thomas started shutting down mid-conversation. Bola started escalating just to feel heard. Classic polarity collapse. One pushes, the other withdraws. Both feel justified. Or at least they try to justify. And the funny part, if we're being honest, is that there are always enough reasons to justify either position. That's not wisdom, that's ego. Sexual polarity dies here. And attraction is bleeding out fast. Remember this, attraction doesn't thrive on agreement, it thrives on emotional safety. Once fighting becomes the main form of engagement, intimacy turns into defense. This is where at least one partner starts thinking quietly, should I divorce? Maybe marriage isn't a do or die thing after all. But the better question is, how did we get here? Because once you hit this stage, you're no longer repairing, you're containing damage. This is exactly where our last video, how to predict divorce with 95% accuracy, fits in. One of the strongest predictors isn't conflict itself. It's content and stonewalling, which leads to the fourth stage, the freeze. This is the most misunderstood phase. The fighting stops, and people think that's progress. It's not. This is emotional withdrawal. The shutdown. Someone stopped arguing because he stopped hoping. Bola stopped complaining because she felt tired, not healed. They became polite roommates. No tension, no warmth, no desire. Attraction flatlines here. Sex becomes infrequent, mechanical, and undesirable, sure, to at least one partner. An awkward routine everyone avoids talking about. Affection feels forced. Silence fills the house. And here's the psychological shift most people miss. When emotional investment drops, people don't become neutral. They become open to distraction, open to external validation, open to imagining life without you. This is where the marriage is most vulnerable because the clock is almost out. And only one person usually knows it. That's when we reach the final stage, the bridge. This is the action, the application, the lawyer consultation, the quiet decision already made. Thomas didn't file in anger, he filed in clarity. By the time Bola asked, "Can we fix this?" he had already emotionally left. That's why she didn't see it coming. Not because there were no signs, but because collapse is slow. And clarity is asymmetrical. How do you stop the clock? There are two options. The first is to intervene early. Attraction must be maintained, not assumed. You check blind spots before resentment forms. You address small emotional debts before they accrue interest. You fight for understanding, not to win. You recognize when polarity is fading and reintroduce presence and emotional safety. And most importantly, you take accountability for the energy you bring into the relationship. Not control, influence. That's the psychology of attraction. Not manipulation, intentional influence and presence. The second and probably your best option right now is to let go of a dead marriage, to create room to build the right one. And the right marriage might be with your current partner or without them. Sometimes letting go is the very thing that rebuilds attraction. It demonstrates self-respect, it resets power dynamics, and paradoxically, it can increase the chances of repairing the underlying relationship silently and dramatically. So here's the question I want you to think about. At which stage do you think Bola or Thomas could have changed the outcome? And what do you think the other person should have done differently to stop the collapse before the breach? I want to hear your thoughts. This is Ola at Man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag, yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.